are now recording.
All right, I call this meeting of the Health and Ordinance Committee to order. We have, first of all, I want to welcome, well, I don't want to say new members, we're all new, but the new committee here, I'm excited to work with you guys, and hopefully we'll have fruitful debate and be able to meet our citizens' demands and make recommendations through ordinances. In front of you today, we've been tasked with animal control or what was the old ordinance called? Was it animal control or was it just animal?
It was. I think it's under chapter 14, animals.
Animals, yeah. So we've been tasked in reviewing those ordinances and trying to find a solution to our current animal problems. Before you, I have presented to committee two proposals. The first one was labeled is the thicker one, and the second one is the not so thick one, I guess. One of them is a complete overhaul of the system, and obviously want to get your feedback on. The other one is the same ordinance we have now with just beefed up penalties. And I think we added tethering to it because I think that was important to Mr. Miller. So it's our goal to go through the ordinances today one by one. I don't think it's going to be a short meeting, and hear your opinions.
Okay.
Have you guys had an opportunity to review both of them already?
Not completely.
Not completely.
Somewhat.
Okay, so it'll be a good opportunity here. And I invited the Mayor Green to be with us today for feedback as well. Just feel free to chime in whenever you like. I would suggest that we start with proposal one, which is the thicker one, and try to get through it.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Are we doing so is this shorter one the original?
Is
As it was?
It's the original, and like I said, there's tethering added to it, and there's
Okay.
another provision added to it that.
Are we doing a kind of a slight comparison as we go through, so we look at them both, or are we?
But these are just two proposals that I put forward that I believe will handle the problem.
Okay.
I would think that if you guys had a proposal, we would review it as well, but the idea is to come up with an ordinance that we can provide to council. I think it's a good starting point to at least get feedback and see where we're at.
Are they similar or different?
Like I said, they're way different. Look at the thickness of them.
Okay. That's what I think he was
But
trying
I think
to
the thicker
discover.
one has everything that's in our regular ordinance in it somewhere. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's not in there. It's just toned down. Not as much administrative stuff in there and regulation. It just is reactionary like we have now. Okay? All right, so proposal one, it starts off with chapter 14, animals, article 1. And does the clerk want to read each ordinance or do...
Mr. Chairman, I think you ought to hit on the highlights of things that the council would have to act on. You know, if you're gonna be here, you're gonna read every definition, and, y'all will be a lot longer than I am. We're just trying
Yeah.
to help,
So it's, I mean, we can, definitions are state law definitions, we'll skip over them.
yeah, I just get to the point that you're making a change, this is my opinion. And, forgive me for interjecting, but I don't, you're looking at 20-hour meeting, to read every order, every
Yeah,
item.
it's a long meeting. Was that the intention, Philip, to go through it line by line?
Do I think we need to go by line? No.
Or
To be
ordinance?
honest with you, I do think we'll be here till 2 o'clock in the morning if we do that.
Okay,
Or we need to have multiple meetings. I don't think you're gonna get through it all tonight.
okay.
What do I think you need to do? You need to, man, you know this thing. I know it somewhat, but you know this thing heart by heart.
Right.
And I think the best thing for you to do is each section, give the highlights of what that is.
That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. And at least the public will now know exactly what's in there, because this is the first time they'll be hearing it too, so.
Each section, hey, this is different because
Okay.
we don't currently do this.
Okay, so let's start with 14.2. That is a penalties when not specifically provided elsewhere. The highlights of that is our old ordinance. It didn't have penalties where it wasn't specified in the ordinance. So we're trying to strengthen the ordinance. So if your dog goes and bites somebody, yeah, it's a dangerous dog, but also under this penalty.
Chief and I just looked at this the other day about chicken roosters. And so Jennifer printed me the most up-to-date, and I think I mentioned to council at the last meeting, we looked at the chicken ordinance, and there was a new one
Mhm.
that we have, and Jennifer was able to put my hands on it, and what's on the line is a little different. But we also looked up, and I think unless otherwise, I think the term is enumerated, unless otherwise dictated, it is already a class 2 misdemeanor to violate these animal ordinances unless it's specifically something different. We know dangerous dogs, because we just went through this, and I can give you a little breakdown. We know dangerous dogs is now a civil matter rather than a criminal matter.
Right,
And
this,
so the-
this otherwise makes it, and that's why I put it in here. Now, we had to, was that under state code? Because I didn't see that in our original code.
It's in our ordinance, chief found it. It is online.
Really, I didn't see it in there at
I'll
all.
print it off real quick.
Yeah, if you can give me a copy of it, that'd be great. And it may be, I could have strengthened it or lessened it. So you said it was a class 2?
It is a class 2 unless otherwise,
Okay,
And that is for what offense?
violations of this animal
okay.
ordinance.
So this one that I proposed was a class 3 upon the first violation. Second violation was a class 2, which is up to 6 months in jail. And class 1 for any violation thereafter, which is a penalty of up to 1 year in jail, depending on what the court, that's what they could get, okay?
Okay, so it goes backwards from 3 to 1,
3 to 1.
from minor to severe.
Right, three
Okay.
is a $500 fine is a max, no jail time. Class 2 is up to 6 months. Class 1 is up to
To
a year.
okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
do we have the authority to, prosecute with a class 1 misdemeanor?
We do under these laws. The only thing this law says that we can't make is a felony. And the law under, and if you look at the top, we have the state law reference. The law that gives us the authority to make it more stringent than state law is 3.2-6544.
And does it say in here, I see under the penalties, but does it say, I see you said, class 3, what'd you say is 500 and class 2 is,
Right,
is
but
that anywhere that
it's up to,
but does that say, I don't see the jail time in this paragraph, is that spelled out anywhere in here?
no, it doesn't, because the state code classifies what the penalties are for a misdemeanor 3 or misdemeanor 2 or misdemeanor 1. Now, what we could add to it is as defined under state code and then list that code, which I've seen in our other ordinance before as well. We can add as defined, so 14.2, add as defined, code. All right. Does anybody have any issues with that, penalties or anything? Okay, all
Is
right.
there a monetary fee that goes along with the 6 months?
That's up to the judge.
Okay.
Okay.
So just to make it clear, class 1 misdemeanor is up to a $10,000 fine and up to 1 year in jail,
That's right.
okay?
But it's up to the judge, okay? And in order to get that, they'd have to violate this chapter 3 times. So we're talking about somebody who's a
repeated offender.
multiple offender. And not only that, you know, I think it's circumstantial on how the judge is gonna order, you know. But you wanted to send a strong message that we wanted our ordinances to be enforced, and I think we've done that here. All right, definitions, these are state law definitions for things that you may find in the chapter. We can skip over those, because you can find them, anybody can find them. All right, 14.4,
What page are you on?
this is gonna be page 5, as we skipped over definitions.
I'm glad we had a patient.
Right, thank you. Page 5 is 14.4. This section here, it deems that all dogs and cats are personal property, and it gives rights relating to ownership to property owners. Basically, just letting the owners know what their rights are as to their property. Any issues with that one? All right.
I already felt that way.
Go, right, going to page 6, is the 14-5, inspection of animals and premises, abatement of non-compliant conditions. This allows our animal control officer, if they notice a shelter pen in the backyard and it doesn't seem to be up to requirements, to be able to inspect that, and and he can inspect that at any reasonable hour at any time in an emergency. Any issues with that?
I think that's great.
That's great. Okay, good. Thank you. Any objections, Mr. Mayor?
No,
All right.
just your show, I'm just trying to help.
14-25, number of dogs limited. This was brought over from our previous ordinance. Should be unlawful for anyone to keep more than 4 dogs over 4 months of age or 4 cats over 4 months of age within the town of Blackstone. There are some exceptions if the dog is older than February 1st, 2005, when the law didn't originally go into effect. Again, nothing was changed on this. It was just brought over and put into the new law for a cat.
Mr. Chairman, do you mind if I interject?
Yeah.
My past experience on council and being in committees is that I see this going in 3 ways this can go. Y'all can vote on either one of these 2 major changes, or you could offer up your favorite one and I would have a list of the changes that you're gonna make. And this would give the council, the opportunity to line item veto, if you would, okay? Well, we like everything, but no, we don't like that. So as we go, I'd make a suggestion that maybe the clerk could keep a running tab of any changes that we're gonna make to a current law. And then that way, that's what I would be looking for if I was a council member, is y'all do the hard work and come tell me what you're gonna change. You know what I'm saying? And I probably, and that's how it went with me with the budgets. When I presented the budgets, I tried to do that. I spelled everything out and tried to make it easy as I could for you to digest that big document. And that's what if you do that, you're doing, confused mind always says no. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
if you bring something to the council and it's spelled out, then I think that's what they were looking for. And that's how you can provide the best service to the other 7.
Right,
Okay?
right. All right.
I'm trying to keep my mouth shut, I'm just trying to help.
Right. And we'll do what committee wants. It was my understanding we wanted to provide council with a recommended proposal.
Right.
Right, so,
But instead of having to, I don't think you're gonna have the patience to do a 2-hour presentation.
no, we're gonna go quicker.
No, I'm talking about the council.
Oh, yeah,
The council, if you spell out the bullets, then it's gonna be received a lot better,
Okay,
okay?
all right.
Do you agree with me? Philip?
Yeah, it's always easy when you have something, track around on something if there's a change. Yeah, that's not a bad thing. I mean, it'd be some work and that sort of
Right.
thing. I
And-
can't say that wouldn't be a good thing to do.
So notable changes, Madam Clerk, would be the penalties and the progression of penalties under 14.2, adding that entire actual code
So
number.
that's new altogether.
That's new. The definitions are new because we don't have all those definitions in our current ordinance.
Okay.
And then we're going to Division 2, it's on page 7, Animal Control Officer Facilities and Impoundment. This provision and everything under this article establishes the animal control officer, the facilities, and their authority to impound or apprehend animals and how they need to do it. So
Is that new?
that is new. It's not something we have. So, Madam Clerk, 1452 is new. That establishes the control officer.
So that gives them the authority to come and enforce our law.
No, that gives us the authority to hire our own animal control officer.
Okay.
We cannot give the county authority to enforce our laws, unfortunately. Unless you know something I don't.
No, but I think the state law is something they can't enforce.
Right, but there's no state at-large law and there's no county at-large law, so they can't enforce our at-large law, so. But this gives the town the authority to hire or remove or appoint an animal control officer or any deputy animal control officer as necessary to enforce the article.
So if this is the route you wanna go, I think the manager wants to have, a police officer do it part-time. Is that correct? Am I hearing you right?
Well, that would be up to council. Yeah,
Well, I had talked earlier, with Mr. Rourke about animal control and the cost of officers and part-time officers and that sort of thing. And one of the things that came out of the conversation was, could we make a contribution to the county to enforce, to hire an additional staff person that will work in the county and town? Could the if we collect $30,000 in tax, can we give them $30,000 to enforce the town's at-large law? And if you're telling me they can't do it, even if both parties are agreeable, then.
The only way I can see that they can do it, and y'all can correct me if we're wrong, we can get over to Tessie, the only way I can see they can do it is if they pass their own at-large law identical to ours, I
Yeah,
mean,
and they're not gonna do that, I mean.
no, it's not, they're not, so,
Yeah, if that's the case, then that nixes that idea, yeah.
I mean, we can ask, but I don't see it anywhere.
Okay.
They don't have the jurisdiction to do it, that's the issue, you know.
I don't know if the town can transfer that to them or not, I don't know how. If state law
There may be,
prohibits it, then probably.
I mean, there may be, I don't know, there may be some, I don't know, you know.
Another option.
I'm not all knowledgeable, I'm not a lawyer, we can always send that over, right? Can you check on it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But it doesn't matter who they appoint, whether it's a police officer, they hire a new person, all that's up to council. This just gives them the authority to do it. So, when it comes to this ordinance. Cool with that? Alright? And if it comes out that you decide to do it with a county staffer, then, and we have the authority to do it, well, we've given you the authority to make an animal control officer here, as long as it's there. Alright, 1453. This is supervision and control of the animal shelter impoundment and release procedures. This is mostly administrative article that goes over the procedures of when a dog is apprehended or impounded. Some things to note.
Is this new?
I'm sorry?
Is this new?
That's right. This is new. It says the town shall cause to be maintained an animal shelter, or they may contract with a private shelter or one or more other local governing bodies for use of their facilities. So this gives us the authority to do so.
This was, if you don't mind, earlier, I started to bring this up. With the new facility being built, when is that supposed to be done?
Probably 4 years.
I think, yeah, they may have a drawing done, but you know, with anything, Chris and I talked about it a couple times, and I was like, well, what about this? And he's like, well, that's all good, but we're probably looking at 4 years. To get everything done.
I was just thinking, will the old, what they're using now, if it became Blackstone's, I mean, if we went this route and we did all this, then why couldn't that become Blackstone's animal shelter?
And that's what the conversation was, well, is there a potential that we could use that facility?
Yeah.
And the end result was, shoot, we're still 4 years away. So,
Yeah.
My end
there's
hope.
an immediate solution there.
My end hope is that this ordinance provides some revenue to the animal shelter, and they're able to improve the one that's there currently, at least enough to fit our needs, and maybe we've invested some money into it by then through the ordinance, in collecting fines and fees and penalties that, and licensing that, maybe they would be open to doing that. Alright, so that was A. B is notable as well. This is the procedures if an animal control officer catches a dog at large. It states that that the owner, well, I'm sorry, hang on. Any dog running at large or in violation of 14.151 or 152 shall be confined in the animal shelter unless an owner can be identified, and the owner pays a license fee at or immediately after apprehension. Any dog or cat which has also been confined shall be kept for a period of no less than 5 days or sooner, unless claimed by the owner. If the dog or cat has not been claimed, it may be humanely destroyed, disposed of by sale or gift to federal agency, and it can be adopted and other things like that. So that gives that process.
And all this is new?
All this is new, yes, 1453. And again, this is all release, capture and release issues with the ordinance, procedures for the animal control officer to follow. 1454 is a record of impoundment. That means that any animal control officer does impound a dog has to have the record. This is following state code. We don't have it in our original ordinance.
So this is new as well?
That's right, and it's administrative. It's nothing that the public is susceptible to. But when you do capture a dog, you've got to have a record of it, and the state makes out what that record has to be, and that's laid out in that particular section. So that is new, 14-54. 1455 is new as well, hindering, molesting, or interfering with an officer. And this states the penalties for, and this happens a lot at animal control, and you heard Sheila tell us, if you molest or interfere with an officer or employee in the performance of their duty in connection with apprehending or impounding an animal, the violation shall be punishable by a Class 2 misdemeanor as defined by the Code of Virginia, which I've put that definition in there, Madam Clerk, so we just want to move that to that first
Okay, so
ordinance as well.
defined by the code, so that same code is gonna,
Yeah, it defines all
that's gonna be the
misdemeanors.
same,
Yeah.
okay,
It defines all misdemeanors in the state.
okay.
So this makes sure our animal control officers are protected while they're out there working, and people
Yeah, it makes
aren't hindering their investigation. 1456 is new, it's not in our current ordinance. This mirrors state law. When animals in our care, if we're gonna have it adopted, spading or neutering prior to adoption is required. The state law reference is in there on the section there. And that has to be done if we're gonna do an adoption program. So, all right. 1457 is new as well. It's our adoption fee. Again, these are animals that are taken in under Blackstone's care, and they're at the shelter. We can decide to humanely dispose of them or adopt some of them. If they're adopted, they gotta be spayed and neutered. And then there's an adoption fee that we would charge. This code doesn't establish the amount of the fee, but it does establish, under state law, that we can, recover, the adoption fee should be enough for the town to recover the cost
Of the spading.
of spading, neutering, shots, and medical care while it was in its care. So again, this is mirroring state law, and it is new. All
I
right.
think it's prudent that y'all determine the fee and put it in here now. Because if you need to bring this to council with y'all's recommendations of every fee, everything.
Well, the cost of the spay, or neutering and the shots, wouldn't that be the fee? Or
Well, there may be other housing fees or boarding fees or things like that. So it's really done administratively, though, to be honest with you. The state law says that we can recover any of those costs in the fee. Now, other places have been $100. I don't know what they are. Nottaway County's $10, but they're not spaying or neutering them. I think they're giving a neutering certificate that you have to show us.
Give them a certificate.
Yeah, you have to show
I'm
us
just-
within so many
I'm
days.
just recommending that you have a set fee. There's no ambiguity, there's no arguing, there's no anything, it's $100.
Y'all wanna make it $100?
That's just.
Oh,
If that's gonna be enough to cover,
I'm not sure. if it
I
will.
did some price checking,
I don't think it's gonna be enough to cover.
Well, then
for a
you
kitten
should
that took up at the house. I did some price checking, and down here, I mean, I use it for my dog, but the cat, to get it spayed and all the shots and everything, would have been a little over $300.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we could add in here, you know,
I'm just
let me
saying.
read this section here.
But I mean, you may be able to, somewhere else that you can get it for less. But it ain't
It
gonna
should be,
a
it should be, such adoption fee shall be paid at the time of adoption and shall be an amount sufficient to allow the town to recover its actual costs expended on such animal for tests and examinations, shots and vaccinations, and spaying or neutering. That's exactly what the state code says. I mean, that's mirrored. So.
It's probably gonna
should-
vary depending on the
Shouldn't our
area where you're at.
administrator
That's
or,
fine, that's fine, but you're gonna have some people show up thinking you're gonna pay $25 to take a dog home.
And it's not that, it's
Well, I
not
don't-
that cheap.
I don't think
Yeah,
it's
it's
gonna
not that cheap.
change every time. I think we're gonna find out what the costs are, and our administrator will be able to set that cost.
Well, I see my role as a devil's advocate, to
Yeah, right, right.
challenge y'all to think of every angle, and that's what I'm doing, so.
Gotcha. I know that what Mr. Gorman said is right, because my daughter owns a boxer, and it cost her almost $500 to do everything, including the tags and all, so.
I think we should add in here that the director or administrator, was, establish the fee, once the program is,
But I feel like you're gonna have receipts for the food and the living costs.
But you're gonna
and
do
the
that for
shots
every-
on- So you're gonna have that you can present to these people, this is what we paid for
Yeah.
this animal, and present that to them.
yeah, and the longer they're there, the more it goes up, and then it comes to a
Mhm.
point of whether it's humanely best to put it down or try to continue adoption. You know,
It's gonna be tough to come up with a number
Well,
here.
you know, the other thing that it's not playing a factor here is that towns negotiate with certain clinics and say, hey, if we send all our dogs to you to get spayed or neutered, we can get them at a cheaper price than $16, $20.
It sounds like an
so-
action item, really. I mean, something.
Let me ask you
Yeah.
this, are you gonna have a specific date when the animal's gonna be put down?
Yeah, so we went over that,
If you are,
What?
5 days,
Yeah.
okay, so when are you gonna stay to move this pet, this animal, because you go to all that expense and then you put the dog down, so I come see the dog and I want the dog, then we're gonna do it?
well, here's the thing, this ordinance says that if the dog is unclaimed, within 5 days and we cannot identify the owner, that we may humanely put the dog down. Doesn't say that we have to, so if we
5
wanna
days,
create
is
an
that
adoption
normal,
program.
5 days? I mean,
Yeah.
that seems kinda quick to me.
It's quick.
It is.
Now, there are a lot of dogs, like dangerous dogs, they gotta stay there till the end of court, okay? And so there ain't nothing we can do about that.
The dangerous ones live
I'm
long.
That's
just sitting
right.
here looking at,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, somebody
Ain't that
brings
bad
in
apples?
$30, drops the dog
Yeah,
off,
bad
and then
apples.
it's an ugly mug, nobody's gonna want it,
Right.
then you're gonna spend $300 or $400 getting it fixed, and then 10 days later, 5 days later, you put it down, then, so
Yeah.
where is this $400 coming from?
Oh, that's right, but the law, again, in this ordinance, it allows us, if we're able to identify the owner, let's say that we identified the owner, the dogs, he doesn't wanna claim them, the fees are high, he's still responsible for any medical care and everything that we did while they were in our possession, so we can't get them back. The problem is the unclaimed dogs, and that's why it's important to have licensing, so that we can identify our animals. Okay? Alright, but we, again, it would also be an administrative thing, the administrator, would decide, okay, well, 5 days, we're gonna give another 5 days for adoption, if it's not adopted by the 10th day, we humanely put them down, or they decide to skip the adoption program and go ahead and humanely put them down.
The administrator, another position?
Right,
besides
so you have
the
an animal
officer?
control officer, and he would report to the chief of police, and then who ultimately reports to the town manager, so. Town manager handles the administration for the treasurer as well, so. It would be, isn't that what we discussed?
So he's gonna be the one who sets all the,
Her, a lot of work there, yeah.
So
So,
we're talking about adding another town employee, is that what you're saying?
no, just an animal control officer, however you
Who's
decide.
the administrator? Philip?
Right
from
there.
what I'm hearing. So he be the one who sets the fees and, can make the extension of the dates if the 5 days is not long enough,
That's right,
depending on the situation. Am I hearing that correct?
that's right.
They'll have to do it, yeah.
That's what it
In
says.
the absence of another employee or employee assigned, yeah.
Yeah, or as a deputy, yeah, or as a deputy, yeah. All right, so that's if, and now, you know, again, there are places that look at how many animals you end up putting down, how many you turn back home, and how many animals you adopt. So you may wanna try to adopt what you can, but a good animal control officer knows what's adoptable and what's not, okay? So we need to rely on that, experience, so. 1458 is a new one. This is a turn-in fee. The town should charge a turn-in fee of $30 to any town resident who voluntarily turns in, delivers, or otherwise relinquishes the custody of an animal to the town designated animal shelter or any other department or agency of the town. So if you come to me and say, hey, I can't afford this dog anymore, I want to turn him over to you, we're gonna charge you $30. Okay? All right. Section 1459 is new. Impoundment and violation notice, fee or board and care, for board and care. This is administrative as well. It tells the notice of when we've impounded an animal, that we have to give notice and put on the person's door if they're able to be identified, that their dog has been impounded. They shall pay a $35 fee plus $5 a day for each day that the dog has been impounded to help cover the cost. Okay? And even if you say, hey, those fees are too much, it is written in here under D. Hey, I don't wanna pick up my dog, I've got too many fees, that's okay, we're still gonna collect it from you, cause we picked up your dog, it was your dog at the time. You can surrender it to us, but we still wanna be paid, okay?
They're responsible, they're gonna be,
We're gonna collect it, we're gonna send it to
repercussions
collections.
if they don't?
We're gonna send it to collections, and then pick it up through the civil process.
So is it just gonna be the, $30 turn-in fee, or it's gonna still be the 35 plus $5 each day until
Look,
you get it
it-
adopted, or?
It depends on how many, no, if I pick up your dog and it sits over there for 4 days, you got $35 plus $5 a day.
Okay.
And you call me and say, how much is it to get your dog? Well, it's $35 plus $5 a day. And you say, hey, that's too much. I'll just give you the dog. Hey, we'll take it. But you're gonna pay this fee or we're gonna collect it from you. Because a lot of people right now, is what's happening at the shelter, is they're saying, hey, the fees are too much. You can just have the dog, I ain't gonna pick it up. And then the county's losing money on that. They never get paid. So this allows us to recover those costs if they do that.
So if they don't pay it, it's going to collections.
That's right. I think your question was the previous turn-in fee. No, that is for if you just come to us. The other one is we've taken your dog, you don't wanna pay the fee.
So how many days will this acquire until you can get an adopter, or until you humanely put it down? The $5 every day?
It goes every day, yeah, that's right, until we decide what to do, whether it's gone, adopted, or put down, that's
So
right.
the $5 will not stop the day that they call and say, hey, look, I can't afford the.
No, the day they call and say we can't afford it, it stops. We're gonna,
$5 stops
we're gonna
it.
turn the dog over to you.
Okay.
That stops, but you still owe for everything before that.
Okay.
But above that, if we can identify you and, it's $35 a day, $5 a day, you can't get your dog out until you pay that. So you'll have to have a clearance form, pay your dog fee, you get your dog, you pick it up when you leave. All right.
Some of it just take it back and take it farther away and drop it out.
Yeah,
Sad
All
but
right.
true. I mean, it's sad.
Go to Division 3, is section 14.9, offenses generally, animals other than dogs and cats running large. This was brought over from our original ordinance that is not new.
To you.
Yep, if you can.
This is the section, the revised chicken section. Jennifer printed off for me the other day. This is actually what was adopted, August 22. And the chickens are here. And that's the part that talks about roosters and all that.
And you're talking about 1491, right? Keeping hogs, livestock, and fowl.
It may include
Okay.
the fowl.
Is there gonna be 1490 also?
Yeah, 1491.
Yeah. It deals with the foul.
Yeah, and 1490, yeah. So, what I put in mine was a copy of what we already had. I didn't know it was updated. And if you remember, I'd asked you and you said, yeah, you didn't think anything was updated, but it was.
It was updated in 22 when we reduced the setbacks.
Yeah, yeah.
But what was online does not say anything about roosters, and I've probably told a dozen people about roosters. And so when Chief and I were talking chickens the other day, I said, I'm looking at this thing online, and there's nothing about a damn rooster. And I know I told Ben and I told the guy over in High Street to lose his roosters the other day. And it is in the ordinance, but that wasn't added the other day. That's been on there.
I've seen
It must be
roosters. I've
really
seen
dated
it.
what's on the, with the
2010.
2010.
I had read.
So you
I
saying there
had
wasn't,
read
I
roosters
saw a
before.
rooster on there online. It's not
Yeah, but I
on
mean,
there?
I had read that no roosters before. I think.
Right, that is the law, no rooster, that is that, but it just was not what was on the website. But what was updated in 22 only affected setbacks. So that's,
Okay.
roosters ain't been.
So the update is for 90 and 91.
Right, 90 and 91. So what I would say is, for 90 and 91, if we decide to go with this proposal as a recommendation, that we use the current town code, cause that's what it was anyway. Is that okay? All right. We would just change the section numbers from 1451 to 1490 and then, 1491. All right. All right, going over to page 14. 1492, which is cruelty to animals.
Thank you for adding that.
You're welcome.
That should be new, right?
It is new. It is new. Now,
That is a cruel thing to have animals fed on your back porch. You shouldn't do that.
you said feed animals on your back porch?
No,
Oh,
Jennifer is
that's
a lover of animals.
Oh, yeah,
So is 1492 new?
yeah. It's new. The 1492 is new. It mirrors state law cruelty to animals. The only change on it is tethering. Let's take a look here. Gotta find that real quick. There we go. It shall be unlawful for any person to tether a dog for more than 1 hour cumulatively within a 24-hour period, whether or not the tethered dog has been provided adequate space. No dog shall be tethered for any amount of time while the owner or custodian thereof is physically absent from the property where the dog is tethered. No dog shall be tethered for any amount of time in inclement, adverse, or extreme weather conditions.
That's a big deal. I mean, people can't change the dogs up in their yard and they gotta have a pen to move around.
It's no longer there, but there was I called in 2 or 3 times. They were tying a pit bull off on the front porch with like a 3-foot leash. Couldn't hardly even lay down.
Well, tethering them for long periods of time, they become vicious and dangerous, and that becomes their territory if they break loose. But number one. Number two, the state just passed some anti-tethering laws about the inclement weather, the adverse or extreme weather conditions as well.
You got no business with a dog.
That's right. I know that you had discussed something about no tethering at all, but from what I could see, the intent of the legislature is that it's important for dogs to at least get out a little bit, and so
So they can do it for a period of time.
an hour in a 24-hour period. So the rest of it is your general state law, cruelty to animals, and their penalties that are required under state law. This allows the town to file the charges under its own ordinances, and any of the penalties and cost of prosecuting can be refunded to the town through, we can ask the court to refund them, or we can seek them civilly. 1493 is animal waste.
New,
1493.
new,
It's in the old ordinance, the section number has changed.
okay.
It is exact replica there, okay?
14
Yeah, it's just moved to 1493, so it's in the right section of general offenses, okay? Section 1494 is new. Compliance with the article, it shall be unlawful for any person to violate or fail, refuse, or neglect to comply with any section of this article, except otherwise provided in any section of this article. Upon conviction, such person shall be punished for a class 3 misdemeanor unless otherwise provided in this article or under section 14.2. So it's just another compliance. It may be repetitive since we have that 14.2. So I would suggest that we remove it. You know, remember the 14.2 was already saying any other violation is this amount.
I'll just read very quickly in our general town code. It describes class 1, 2, and 3, and 4 misdemeanors, and it also says wherever in this town code, the entire town code,
Oh, okay.
or in any ordinance of the town, any act is prohibited or made or declared unlawful, or any offense or misdemeanor, or wherever in such code or ordinance the doing of any act is required, or the failure to do any act is declared unlawful, or a misdemeanor, no monetary fine or confinement in jail is specifically provided for. The violation of any provision of this code or any such ordinance shall be a class 2 misdemeanor. So
Okay.
you're putting a class 2 misdemeanor on it as well?
Well,
But anywhere it doesn't specify is a class 2.
We
okay.
have a class 1 here, is that legal?
Yes.
I think it is, but if
So-
it didn't say class 1,
Oh, if it doesn't say it's a class 2,
if it doesn't say it,
it
I
doesn't
think
say
you
it's
fall back on
spelled
that.
out, then it's automatically a class 2.
Right.
They would write it under different class.
I think we strike 1494 and we can keep with the 1492, and I can appreciate that, but council asked for stricter penalties under the animal shelter one. We can cut, we 14 point, and you can tell me what you wanna do with it, cause yours says it's class 2, right? This one says any penalties of this chapter, the first offense is a class 3, the second's a class 2, and the third is a class 1. And that makes it gradually go up. Is that, and that's just for this chapter though, yeah.
Then we need to, if it's not specifically detailed, then it automatically
It's
takes.
automatic.
Specifically detailed,
Then we're
and
good.
saying what it's gonna be, I think it's good.
Right. The
Okay,
only
so
thing
we'll
is
remove
that this,
1494.
this may need to be adjusted where it says except under chapter 14, because it has its own thing saying, hey, anything
Well,
in
I know,
here.
but I don't think you do, because it's specific.
To this chapter, that's
to the
right,
chapter,
okay.
so I think you're okay.
Okay, good.
So we're removing
Strike it.
1494?
1494 we strike. You guys good with that?
Sure.
Okay. Article 3 is dogs and cats, with the generally, provisions, division 4 of it. Actually, you see where it says division 1 generally, Madam Clerk? We need to take that out of there. That's,
So take division 1 generally out?
yeah, that's a mistake, I'm sorry. Cause we're on Article 3, Division 4, and when you write these things, they take a long time, and you're looking at it over and over again, you don't think you make mistakes, and you do, so. Division 4 is licenses, so if you go to page 17, this establishes the license and dog, or cat, for a dog or cat, and it's required. This is, new, so that's 14-136. Let's see here. It says it shall be unlawful for any person other than a releasing agency that has registered as such annually to the town designated animal shelter to own in the town or cat a dog of 4 months old or less that is not licensed by the town. Any new residents of town must obtain the required dog or cat licenses within 10 days of the bringing of the animal into town. First violation shall be a 3, second violation 2, third violation class 1. And this is the ability for us to track the animals that we have and identify owners and keep them out of the shelter when we come. Because if you're running down the street, there's a dog, we pick it up, we look up the serial number on the tag. Oh, that's Alan Queen's dog. We're going to take it to Alan Queen. We're going to drop it off. And that way, we're relieving stress on the shelter, and we know what animals are ours.
And Blackstone currently does not have any fees. I think Nottaway has, it used to be $8 for registering, but Blackstone does not have any fees, so this would
Right.
be good.
Well, this is requiring the license. The fees established a little later on. Yeah, this is new. 1437 is a license application. This establishes that in order to get the license, you got to come into town treasurer. You got to. I need a change here on Madam Clerk. It says corporate city limits under Section A. We need to change that to town limits. Says the town treasurer shall be authorized to license dog cats of resident owners or custodians who reside within it needs to say town limits. Any owner or custodian making application for a license may be required to provide evidence of residency. Licensure of a dog or cat by another political subdivision or state will not act to relieve the resident owner or custodian of the responsibility to obtain a license for the dog or cat in the town. So it's shall be unlawful for any person to make any false statements in or present any false evidence with an application submitted under this section. Violation of this section constitutes a class 1 misdemeanor. So if they come in and they write on the application, my dog's spaded or neutered, and it's not, and the dog ends up breeding, they would be under violation of this section. All right. So that's new. The tax, the dog or cat license tax, the cost of the tax is $10. If you're over 55, this is section 14-138, it's new. It's $10. If you're under 55 or over 55, it's $5. And any person giving, again, false information, that is repetitive. We can cut that out on number D if you like, Madam Clerk.
Okay.
Section D. That's 14-138 sub D. Now this tax is only the dog owners, and it allows us to, the money can be used to support or maintain an animal shelter.
You sure you wanna cut that on D? Because, that's referring to that section where the other class 1 misdemeanor is referring to the D.
Says any person giving false information in the procurement of a license pursuant to this section. But this section is just a license tax.
Well, you got license application, then you got license tax.
It's a separate section, I'll leave it in there.
All right, we'll leave that there, Madam Clerk. Okay. I would think the only thing,
Yeah, I mean,
I would think the
pretty-
only information they can give that's false on the procurement is the application. You know, if they lied on the application.
I'm just saying, yeah, I mean, I can go either way, but it's referring to that section where
Okay.
it says, but it's,
Let's leave it then, okay?
either way, it's gonna hit them hard, so
Yeah, yeah,
I could lie about my age and get a discount.
so how this license tax money works is when it's collected, we can at first use the money for 3 items. One is to maintain or support an animal shelter that we're using. Number 2, administration costs and enforcement costs. And number 3, is education, for like, discounted spade and neutering training programs, things like that. At the end of the year, if there's any surplus, we're able to transfer that into the general fund.
And really, I mean, not being picky, but I mean, do we need to list 4 lines instead of just saying any dog, $10, any cat, $10? You know what I mean? They're all the same price. But it don't matter. I mean,
We could do that,
Ain't like it costs more to be a male.
right.
Well, I mean,
You know, and it's really committee's recommendation. We have $10 because we have a smaller number of dogs in the county. But, you know, we can change that. Can we,
I was just saying breaking it out is
can we,
really
can we
necessary.
can we just make, well, if it's there in case the council changes it later in the future. We could always just say any dog or cat is $10.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
So where it says 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah, can we, Madam Clerk, we're gonna change that to, because it says in the following manner, we can just say all dog and cat licenses are $10. And as you see there under subsection C, there's unless you're 55 or older, it'd be $5, okay? Next ordinance is 14-139. This is new. This mirrors state code about when the license tax is due and payable. This makes the license tax due on or before January 31st of each year for any cat that is 4 months or dog that's 4 months or older. It discusses that licensings for the forthcoming year shall be available for purchase November 1st of the preceding year. And that's why I also recommend, Madam Clerk, we add to this that this ordinance go into effect November 1st of 2023, if this is the ordinance that the committee recommends. Okay?
so you want it effective November 1st, 2023? And you
Yeah.
want that just under this section, or for the whole ordinance?
The whole chapter, yeah. Unless the mayor wants to make, unless the committee, wants the chapter to go into effect earlier, but the licensing to go into effect in November. I don't, you know,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
yeah, okay. It gives time for administrative work to be done and setting up certificates and applications and all that stuff if we just do it November 1st.
So that section right there is gonna be effective November.
It would be the whole thing if we recommend
whole-
it,
okay,
the whole
gotcha.
thing, yeah. Section 1440, failure to pay license tax when due. This makes it unlawful to not pay the license tax as you would get with any tax, okay? It does,
Is that new or old?
that's new.
Such a thing as a class 6?
No, I was just about to point that out.
I'm looking it up right now.
No.
Ready minds.
That was a mistake on my end. Again, you look at these things so much for hours and hours. Subsection B says class 6 misdemeanor. I think it's meant to say class 3, because it goes 3, 2, 1. Class 3 for one offense, class 2 misdemeanor second offense, and class 1. And upon being found guilty of a third violation related to the same animal, the court may also order the confiscation and proper disposition of the animal. All right. 14.141, issuance and contents of the license. This just tells you what the tag will have on it. This is new as well, mirrors state law. State law, if you're gonna issue tags, it tells you what's gotta be on it. And that there has to be a tax license receipt given to them. So they get the tag and they get a paper receipt, okay? And it basically has a general description of the animal and their name and all that stuff. The metal tag itself will have the calendar year and have a serial number on it. Okay, so 2023 serial number. We look up in our system if the dog's picked up, the serial number tells us whose it is, and we get it back to where it needs to be. All right, 14-142, preservation and exhibition of license receipt. This is the law requiring the license tag to be visible if the dog is out off of its own property. So if it's being walked or if it's at large, it's not allowed to be either way, but that it be visible. And if they don't have it, the receipt, the paper receipt, shall be made available upon demand from the animal control officer. So, again, this mirrors state law when it comes to tags.
That's new too, right?
I'm sorry?
That's
Is
new
it
also.
new?
That's new, yes, sir, yes, sir. 14-143 is new. This is, makes it unlawful to remove, a tag from another dog. Somebody catches you taking off their dog's tag, that would make it unlawful. That's a class 1 misdemeanor. And so that's that one. We can go to the next one, duplicate tags, 14-144. This administrative procedure, if somebody's lost their tag, it's gonna be $5 to replace. They have to come into the treasurer and present the original license receipt, and they'll be able to get a duplicate tag for $5.
Those are the same or new?
That's right. The only recommendation I have with that is that for the 55 and older, that it's $250, half the cost. That we add that? It's too much?
Just do $5.
$5, that's reasonable? Okay.
And if they don't have the tag, and they don't have the, I would say
Original.
that they probably won't have the original license receipt either.
Then it goes to that gentleman right there, and he makes a decision. Maybe we could find some type of transaction on our end and make sure that they're currently licensed, you know? But if it were me, I'd say, well, you know, I mean, it says here you gotta have the original receipt, but I would think it would be the town manager would make that decision, but at least $5.
So like I'm sorry, but just say I have the receipt, and I know I'm not gonna keep up with it, but I took a picture of it on the phone. Could I present that?
If it's got your name and everything on it, it'll have your information on it, so yeah, it'll have the time and date of it and everything like that, yeah.
Were these new?
New, yes, ma'am. New and new. 14-145 is breeding permits. I'm gonna read it as it is now, but I have a suggestion for a change, okay? So this is a breeding permit, under state law, if you're gonna breed dogs, you gotta have business license. We got a lot of puppies being sold online and puppy mills going on. We've had 4 litters, I think, in the last week in town that were born and that I've seen up, and part of the problem is controlling the population, so we put the breeding permits in there, that if your dog isn't spayed or neutered, then you'd have to get a breeding permit, and it's to encourage spading and neutering, and also to control the population and how many dogs don't get sold. They end up on the street, or you're breeding dogs without a license and you're selling them for $2,400 a pop, and you're doing how many ever litters a year. So this controls how many litters a year somebody can do with a breeding permit, gives them authorization to do it. The only thing that I recommend that we change on it is this requires you, if your dog is not spayed or neutered, to get a breeding permit. But I think that we should change it to where if your dog has puppies and you don't have a breeding permit, I don't want to force people to get their dog spayed or neutered if they don't want to.
B is pretty harsh too, isn't it? I mean, no person shall basically have a dog that hasn't been spayed.
Well, that's what I'm taking out.
All right, is that what
Yeah,
you're talking
taking out subsection B. That's
some
the
people-
harsh one. That's the one that forces them to spay or neuter.
Yeah.
I'd like to take that out. And basically, this is now saying, I want to write in there that it shall be unlawful for any person to breed an animal in the town of Blackstone without a breeding permit. Which I think would cover what we're trying to do, controlling the population.
And you want that to replace B?
Yeah.
Okay.
The rest of it goes into how somebody with a breeding permit, how many litters they can have, 1 litter a year, unless the town manager, under special circumstances, allows them to have 2, tells them what circumstances those would be. It makes people who sell dogs online to include their breeding permit number in the advertisement. It limits it to 1 litter per year. And any breeding permit holder selling or otherwise transferring a dog or cat, whether for compensation or otherwise, shall submit to the town the name, address, telephone number of the animal's new owner, so that they can get licensed as well. And that if you do sell a dog to a town resident, you have to inform them of the town's tag licensing law and provide them an application. So really keeping this up there with identifying dogs, knowing where the dogs are, how many are being bred, and also forcing people who are doing business illegally to have a permit or business license is basically what it is to be able to sell the animals.
How in the world would you keep up with that?
I was thinking the
Well,
same
if we
thing.
catch you without doing selling animals without a breeding permit, like you post something online and somebody sees it and they come to the town and say, hey, this guy's put an advertisement up for puppies here, and there's no breeding permit, you know, we would enforce it that way, but I would think do good old fashioned police work, you know. I mean,
Oh, by the way,
we have a force right now finding, I'm sorry, go ahead, miss, I'm sorry.
go ahead, finish.
I'm saying we have a force right now out there finding people just selling Airbnbs and conducting business without a license. So, I mean, it's almost the same thing. Yeah. So,
Someone hacked my past Facebook account, and whoever hacked it is using it to sell puppies. So, if you see the old account and his profile is not me, my mom, and my sister, that's not me.
right.
Okay? And anybody on there that's selling dogs, that's not me.
All right. So, under the new one, it would make it illegal to breed an animal in the town of Blackstone without a breeding permit, and that includes selling the animal. You know, again, that's enforceable if we come in contact with the dogs. There's a police call there, and there's a litter of animals sitting there in the living room, or a fire happens, and 3 of the litters animals were killed in it or something. You know, you can get in trouble for having them. So, section 14-146 penalties for breeding violations. Those are the penalties down there. It's class 3 misdemeanor. Let me just read through that real quick because we made a change. Okay, so we need to adjust A to, no, because authorize the town to have animals sterilized. A gives them a opportunity to cure, but this was under the no spaded, like you had to be spaded or neutered or else you had to get it. So I would take out, and it's committees, I don't know, what does committee think on that? Shall we give the person the opportunity to cure if they're out there breeding without a breeding permit? Give them the opportunity to get the permit? I think that's reasonable, don't you? All right, so let's take out the sterilized portion of that. So that would be line 1, 2,
3.
line 3. All the way to animals released from A, and just make it A, by obtaining a breeding permit as required.
Okay, wait. Okay, so A is gonna be what now? It's gonna start with what?
Let's start with
By obtaining
yeah.
a breeding permit as required by section 14.
By obtaining, okay, so
Right.
take out the rest of it.
So it gives them an opportunity to cure, and if they fail to cure, it would be a class 3 misdemeanor. All right. And the town can revoke any permit issued under this section, finding the permit holder has violated the terms and conditions of the section. All right. Any other opinions on that? Committee? All right. 14-147 sale, adoption, and other transfers. This is new as well. This discusses what we were in there talking about. Any person who offers, provides whether for compensation or otherwise any dog, cat for sale or any other type of transfer shall disclose to the transferee information regarding the license and permit requirements of the town applicable to the transferred animal. No person shall present a dog or cat for sale, adoption, barter, or exchange, whether for compensation or otherwise, in any public place without first obtaining a breeding permit. Government agencies, nonprofit, animal rescue organizations are exempt under this code. 501c3s, humane societies. They are permitted at dog or cat shows. Pet stores would have to.
I got a kitten once at a yard sale, man.
You did?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying it's gonna be hell keeping up with all this. You know that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Well,
gonna be. seriously, I mean, it did, I mean, it disappeared, but did, you know.
Does committee wanna scratch breeding permits?
No, I'm just,
I mean-
it's gonna be, you know, administratively, I don't think that,
There's no way Philip.
Philip's gonna be able to keep up with all 42 pages of this.
No,